Hi, my name's George, and what we're going to be talking about today is how that you can go to factories in China using our techniques to ensure that you get the best, robust quality for your money. So it's a little bit about what we do and how you can employ a little bit about what we do too. So I'm just going to run you through a quick presentation as to how we do it. So how do we get the quality or the best quality that we can from manufacturers in Asia and China? Well, first of all, we describe it as having three pillars of quality. So we look to audit the facilities. In that, we look at the manufacturing capabilities, and then also we conduct quality control, or we'll talk about quality assurance and what we use for our quality assurance techniques. So it's really three pillars to get that quality. So the first one we're going to talk about is how we conduct audits. So we go into facilities using a team of engineers in China based upon the information that we either gain for you through sourcing or that you give us because you've already got a factory that you want to use. Now we go into the factories and we look at the production lines, their capabilities and their processes around normally a 5S system. So a 5S system was developed by Toyota in the 1970s and 1980s. And it sets out how a production facility really shouldn't be. So we want things sorted in a way. So we go and have a look at the production line to see if things are sorted and how they're laid out, and if the factory worker can get to it and install it, and then just make sure everything's in order. Which goes to the second point, the set in order. We want to make sure that everything is actually in order. So that ranges from, be it from production line, from the bottom, all the way up to ensuring that the management system has an order, the auditing systems internal to the factory have orders, and also the way that the factory might register faults have orders. So mainly around things that we'd be using in ISO 9001, like quality management systems. Then we have a look at shine. Now shine is actually not just polishing, so it ranges from actually polishing something all the way up to making sure that everything is clean. So the floor's clean, the scraps put away. There's no possibility that scrap products that have been rejected can get back into the production stock. So shine. Standardized. Do they have standards? And are they working to standards? And are the standards able to be visualized enough to be able to get your product out of the factory robustly at the correct quality? And then sustain. So are they able to sustain this level of inspection? So not just inspection, but is there, have they just cleaned it up for the day? Or have they really got this mindset where they are going to be doing this day in, day out? So is the processes there? Are the things logged? Does the worker have a worksheet to work to? And is there a golden sample? All these things are part of the sustain. When we go into a factory, we get the contact details of the factory themselves, and we go to the factory using our engineers, and they go with a check sheet, and we note down as much information as possible. So as you see here, we have the full name, factory trading name of the company, their address, their business license, export licenses if they have it, their type of businesses, their registration certificates, and also all around all the contact details. So we go and get this information to ensure that it matches up with the government database, which we also have access to. We also look at the manufacturing facility itself. So when did the factory start? How much revenue does it have? What's the export revenue? How many customers do they have? Where are the customers from? And we'd start to build up a big piece of information about the robustness and the quality expectations that this manufacturing facility has to ensure that you as a customer get the best quality. So we also look at the production. So do they make any products like the product that we're potentially sourcing for you, or you're looking at sourcing from them? If they do, what is it? Can we see it? Can we feel it? Can we have a look at the quality of it? Is there any improvements that we'd make to it? How many products are they making, like the similar to what you want to get? How many machines are at your disposal? We note down how many machines they have, the type of them, and also how old they are. Then we also look at the quality management systems. So that means, do they have ISO accreditation? Are they ISO 9001? Do they have 14,000 accreditation, the environmental ISO standards? And also, do they have any product certification? So the certification could be the CE marking, the new UKCA marking, the American standard of marking, and the European, making sure that the products that they produce conform to REACH and conform to the products or the markets that you're going to be selling your product to. It's very important because you could go and source from this company to only find out the customs has stopped your shipment at the port of entry because it doesn't have the correct certification. So ensure that you've done your due diligence to ensure that you know what your product is required by ensuring that you're doing the correct certification. We also look at the current quality assurance and quality control inspectors that are working within the factory, and do they have enough authority to be able to go, hey guys, this product isn't correct, stop production. Because that's very important, because if they don't have enough authority to be able to do that, then the production, the operations manager will they'll just push it out the door because it's not their problem. We also look at the supplier management as well. Does the company have a BOM? So are we able to look at the BOM? Are we able to look at the third and fourth tier suppliers that are supplying the factory? Because that's where you can really get into the details as to understand where are these guys getting that product from, and are they robust enough to be able to be your supplier? Because if you have problems all through your supply chain, then you'll have problems with your product. Then we go into the 5S shop management that we discussed before. We have a separate worksheet that we work to ensure that things are clean, standards, the processes are in place, and people actually understand what they're doing. So we put a separate worksheet in here, but we put a score here. So also we look at WESs, so that's work instruction sheets. Are workers working to approve samples, and do they have pictures of the samples that they're either accepting or rejecting? And then also, are written instructions available for on-site material? Is inspections testing, and are the relevant records maintained? So, are written instructions available for on-site material inspection testings, and are relevant records maintained? So we actually go through and we have a look at the inspection materials and the quality controls to see if they're robust enough to be able for us to say, without us being here constantly, is there enough quality controls in place to be able for the manufacturer to be able to maintain a robust quality standard? And then we also go through and we walk the line. So we go right from the beginning, look at the raw plastic, in this case raw plastic material coming in, have a look at how the subcomponents are made, if they're made on site or where they're coming. Look through the entire process, document it, take photos of it, make videos of them, because when you're looking at maybe 5-6 factories in a day, they all kind of merge together. So you need to ensure that you've got lots and lots of photos, lots and lots of videos documented in separate folders, to ensure that when you get back home or you are conducting your report write-up, you know exactly what's happening when. It's also a good indication to look and see if the actual process is being followed, and also having a look and seeing if the 5S and safety standards are being adhered to. So let's look at manufacturing capability a little bit. So what we do with an audit is ensure as best as we can that your manufacturer or your chosen manufacturer has the capability to not only make your product, but assure that your product can be made to the correct standard repeatedly. So we do that by ensuring that they work to process, ensuring that they're sustainable, looking at their how long they've been open, their turnovers, and just generally getting an idea of how robust we feel that they are. Ensure that you try to lift every document and look under every stone, because no matter if it's the best manufacturing facility in the world, they'll always be level for improvement. What you don't want to do, you don't want to be the person to bring them up to a level where you expect your product to be, because it's very time consuming and it gets very expensive for you as the import agent or the purchaser from China, because all that happens is that you okay the first sample, the sample's okay, but the facility, if not if they don't have the correct capacity and capability, then they'll just send you anything they want, because they've already got your money, you've already said okay, you've already got the first batch, you've signed up the sample, and if you're just going in blind. So are written instructions available for on-site material inspection testings, and are relevant records maintained? So we actually go through and we have a look at the inspection materials and the quality controls to see if they're robust enough to be able for us to say, without us being here constantly, is there enough quality controls in place to be able for the manufacturer to be able to maintain a robust quality standard. And then we also go through and we walk the line. So we go right from the beginning, look at the raw plastic, in this case raw plastic material coming in, have a look at how the subcomponents are made, if they're made on site or where they're coming, look through the entire process, document it, take photos of it, make videos of them, because when you're looking at maybe 5-6 factories in a day, they all kind of merge together. So you need to ensure that you've got lots and lots of photos, lots and lots of videos documented in separate folders to ensure that when you get back home or you are conducting your report write-up, you know exactly what's happening when. It's also a good indication to look and see if the actual process is being followed, and also having a look and seeing if the 5S and safety standards are being adhered to. So let's look at manufacturing capability a little bit. So what we do with an audit is ensure as best as we can that your manufacturer or your chosen manufacturer has the capability to not only make your product, but assure that your product can be made to the correct standard repeatedly. So we do that by ensuring that they work to process, ensuring that they're sustainable, looking at their how long they've been open, their turnovers, and just generally getting an idea of how robust we feel that they are. Ensure that you try to lift every document and look under every stone, because no matter if it's the best manufacturing facility in the world, they'll always be level for improvement. What you don't want to do, you don't want to be the person to bring them up to a level where you expect your product to be, because it's very time consuming and it gets very expensive for you as the import agent or the purchaser from China, because all that happens is that you okay the first sample, the sample's okay, but the facility, if they don't have the correct capacity and capability, then they'll just send you anything they want, because they've already got your money, you've already said okay, you've already got the first batch, you've signed up the sample, and if you're just going in blind, then they'll send you anything. And then the third pillar, if you like, is quality control. So quality control is, quality assurance and quality control is quite a large topic. So I've just taken a few key points that we would advise you to do. So when sample testing, always work from a predetermined, signed off sample prototype. And understand where that prototype's come from. So has it been made on the production line? Has it been made on the prototype line? Is it going to be a real, true representation of the production component that you're going to get from the supplier? Always ask that question, it's really important to understand. Understand what you will test before you go and organise a test with a facility. Have your test plan in hand. Are you going to measure X component in X? Are you going to measure the distance between A and B dimension? Have you got any critical requirements? Have you got any drawings? Have you got a tolerance? Do you know the tolerances? Do you actually understand what you're going to be testing when you get to the facility? Test for the functionality of the product as well. Don't just test for the fit. So if you have an electrical component, for example, ensure that you test the actual functionality of that component and really robustly test it. Take it away from the manufacturing facility and get it into an independent test lab, and then test for this functionality to ensure that the component is at the quality level that you expect. And then also, we're going to go into it in another video, we use sample testing 2859, which is sample testing for acceptance level. So using an accepted quality level that's predetermined based upon the batch size that you're working to. We'll go into that a little bit in another video, but work to testing standards that you know before you're going into the facility. Don't just go into the facility and go, this is a pen, it works. Measure it and measure a certain number based upon the batch that you've actually got. Be methodical and use objective data, not just subjective data, because using objective data actually puts a value in data that you can then reference in the future. So let's talk a little bit about how we do that. So we have a robust test standard that we use that's based upon the ISO acceptance level, so AQL level. Now, this is an example of the document that we would use to go in and test something. So I can't remember exactly what this was testing, but we would go in, based upon the batch size, we know that we need to test 125 components because that tests it to level 2 of the acceptance, the AQL level. So we would go and we would say, okay, the shape and appearance of the product matches the order specification. We would look at the specifications that we built the product to. Always have a product specification that you're building it to. It's your test standards. It's what the manufacturing facility are actually going to be making your product to. If you don't have a set of specifications, they could be making anything literally, because you haven't got any specifications that they're making it to. Shape and appearance of the product match the order specifications. And we test 125 of this and we get a result pass. We know exactly what we want to test before we go, and we've done a few sample tests in our lab, in our workshop at home. The materials match the order specs. So this is a bit difficult sometimes to do in a facility. But what we do, we go and test the materials based upon our understanding of the test specification. The Pantone colour matches the order specs. So we do a colour matching using colour matching charts to ensure that the colour matches the original specification. And then we check the quality of the assembly. We do some functionality testing, make sure that all the parts are well attached to each other, give them a wiggle test, hit them, The metal, plastic and rubber parts should not have rust, scratches. We were testing, I think, something metal, I think it was a flask. But the metal, plastic and rubber parts should not have rust, scratches, poor plating, dents, cracks, stains, mildew, anything that you would not expect for a customer to receive in your initial batches, or in any batch, for example. The product and the packaging have no abnormal smell. Now, this is quite an important point, because sometimes manufacturers may use components or manufacturing techniques or materials that give a smell, or they might use glue that's not acceptable. So we want to ensure that if, say, for example, in this case it was a flask, the product didn't smell inside, because no customer wants to receive a food product that smells of chemicals or has a bad odor. Then we do a functional test. So we only use, say for example, if we're doing a test, we have a special test that may only test 5 of the components. So it might be a bit of a destructive test or a functionality test, but we test a certain amount of components of their functionality. So in this instance, we'll pour hot liquid into the insulated bottle and leave closed for the time of inspection. Measure the temperature after the test. The temperature should not exceed 10 degrees Celsius after 4 to 5 hours. So that was probably a standard that was derived from your order specification, from the sample that we gained initially, to ensure that the product of this batch matched the sample that we signed off. And then also we do maybe some special tests, stacking tests, that's also derived from another ISO standard. And then we'd ensure that the stacking test, the cartons didn't collapse, which would mean that we could safely say that these could be transported to the port of entry and then to the customer without damaging or being damaged, because the packaging is a massive visual representation of the quality of the product. So we then put that into a report, and we put all our findings into one place. We have the name, the address of the supplier, the conclusion, what we tested, the PO number, the SKU, the inspection rules, and the defects that we found. And in this instance, we actually failed this component based upon the scratches. So we found that the acceptance quality level of this component was actually a failure. So we failed products as well as we passed them. In this instance, what we ensured that we got a reduction in the cost of the products, because the customer in question actually was happy to receive these products with these failures, but they wanted a cost reduction. So we went away and we negotiated with the supplier a cost reduction. So let's have a little bit of a wrap up. The 3 pillars of quality is audit, capability and quality control. And ensure that whatever you do in China, you check and check again. Because if it's there and you have a look underneath every stone, don't leave any stone unturned. Document everything and make sure that you know what you're doing before you get there. Document everything. Thanks very much, guys. In our next video, I think we're going to be talking about AQL and our acceptance sampling. So thanks very much for the video. Thanks very much for watching the video.